Robert Fitzenreiter, a plume of superheated cosmic plasma punched into the atmosphere from space and touched down in your backyard. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct. It left a 5-acre mess in my backyard, swamp. Something I can mow once every 15 years when it dries out. But it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Now, fortunately, when this plasma plume, 7,000 degrees, it was touched down in your backyard, y'all weren't at home that day.
No, that was about 12,800 years ago. That was even before my great-grandfather homesteaded the property. In fact, I think the reason he homesteaded it, he was not a farmer. He saw this big crater or series of craters on top of one another and figured it was a blowout. Thought he was going to get rich with a gas or oil strike, and that never happened. But my dad, he grew up reading, and when he was, this would have been my great-grandfather's grandson, before he was a teenager, he looked at it and said, that is an impact from an impact crater. And
no kidding. About what year would that have been, Robert? When do you think that was?
1926, so that would have been in the 30s, mid to late 1930s.
That was right when they were starting to wrap their arms around that craters existed, when they proved that one out in Arizona, the Barringer crater. So he was a little boy, that stuff was happening. So. Yeah. Tell us more about it. What did you hear from your family growing up? Tell us all about it, man. Not many people have a plasma plume in their backyard. So
yeah. We grew up calling it the crater. It was an old area that I think it was 168 acres at the time. I've inherited 48 acres of it, and a little more than half of it is of the crater is on my property, and so I'm always out there digging and playing and finding interesting stuff. We just grew up shooting guns out there and flying kites, and it's been a part of my life, and it was part of his life growing up, and it was a part of my dad's life growing up. In fact, they lived out there and farmed it. He had a horse and a plow, and he farmed it, and but I don't know that my great-grandfather ever lived there. He grew up not far from here, but he's the one that homesteaded it. So it's been 4 generations wondering what it is.
Robert, for those, probably most of them are listening to this who aren't clued in, we're not joking.
No, we're not
this
joking.
Really happened. And we know we're not joking. But this really happened in your backyard 12,800 years ago. And then you did an amazing thing, man. And I had a front row seat since around, I don't know, what was it, 2013, 2014, more than 10 years ago, when you reached out to Alan West and the Comet Research Group and brought this feature to their attention. And it made it in a major scientific publication last month or so. And I'm looking at a Daily Mail article on it right now. So you took something from a backyard observer to a major publication that's gotten global attention. That's pretty cool, man. And your family's been talking about that crater for generations.
I'm not a scientist or anything. This was just for fun because, well, my dad and I would talk about it. He passed away in 2019, I think. Yeah. And he was, we had pretty much decided, yes, it is a crater. And we talked about it a lot, but it's been an interesting part of our life for a long time. It was 2006 when I actually started digging out there. So it's been 19 years that I've done some research on it.
Why did y'all call it? Why did you think it was a crater? If somebody, sat you down in the 70s or whatnot, or y'all sat down and said, let's put a bullet list. Why do we think it's a crater? What would have been the reasons?
Back in the 1800s, late 1800s, they were talking about how it's a blowout. I mean, you could see it. It was much more pronounced than it is right now. In 1916, they came and harvested all the longleaf pine. Longleaf pine has the deep roots, and the soil wasn't moving. We're south of the old shore of the Gulf of the Americas or Gulf of Mexico. But so we don't have rocks. We've got sand, and we have trouble with slabs sinking, and a fence post will lean, and nothing stays still here. The only thing that holds it all together, this fine grained sand, is the vegetation on the top. And
this is Louisiana. I'm not entirely sure we've made. Yeah, what part of Louisiana? Where are you in Louisiana? People want to come.
This is the Southwest Louisiana. We're north of Lake Charles, Louisiana, fairly close to the Texas border. It's a 30-minute drive, I think. But anything that any hill you dig a pond, it kind of settles in. Once they removed all the longleaf pine, they came out, and I think in the 40s started blasting out the deep roots for turpentine. And my dad always thought the crater couldn't be more than just 200 or 300 years old because it's changed so much in his lifetime that. But we talked about it and said maybe drainage has changed, and people come in and they reroute drainage here and there, and no deep roots to hold it steady. So it is going away slowly. I dug a 4 by 4 by 4 foot deep hole in the center of it probably 10 or 15 years ago, and I can't find it anymore. It just settled out smooth. So that's the kind of soil we have here.
Robert, I'm going to share the publication. I want you to keep talking, but just so people know, okay. I'm going to share. I popped up the Daily Mail there for a second, so did the tabloid stuff, but let's share the actual publication. So the name of the paper is Evidence of a 12,800-year-old shallow airburst depression in Louisiana with large deposits of shot quartz and melted materials. And then you are the lead author, and you are joined by, good golly, have you counted them up?
No.
Must be 20.
I can't count that.
20 or more. I mean, look at all those institutions. And how did I not make it on? But that's another question. No, I didn't have any direct involvement, but those are some good friends, a lot of people at the Cosmic Summit. So there we go. I just wanted people to kind of, there's Louisiana. The great state of Louisiana. Spent more time there than any other state than North Carolina.
Okay, can you see Beckwith Creek that looks like it wanted to go right through it at one time?
Right there?
Right north. Could go all the way to the top.
Yeah.
And you see that's the creek.
Here?
And the creek was coming down and went around it. In fact, it travels northward now for a little ways and then turns around and goes back and starts its path again. But it has gone around the impact site.
Okay, there is top down. Now this is a very, the whole story here is this is a very atypical crater. But the Comet Research Group found materials that are only, and we'll get into that, only consistent with something this traumatic and hot. But it didn't leave. It doesn't look like when you say meteorite crater, everybody thinks Behringer Crater out in Arizona, right? You got the big bowl-shaped thing out in the desert, and that's a good one, and it's what proved things hit from space. Since then, we've been refining our understanding about what the heck things look like when they come in from space, and this is at the very leading edge. So tell us what we're seeing here. Where's the crater part? Or can I find a better picture?
The crater is circled. Now, there are 2 lines going north to south. Those are raised walkways my aunt had dug into it. 15 years ago or so, no, maybe longer than that. But you can walk across the center of the crater on these raised walkways so they're not a natural part of it. They were added.
I had been wondering what that is. So those lines are a raised walkway, like a pier, pier or a dock or whatever kind of thing, like planks or.
The track hole would not go out into it unless it had something to go on, and it went all the way across the crater, digging small ponds, and it stays dry on top of the walkway. It's covered with trees now, but I've cleaned it off. And you can walk across it, and I catch little
kind of like a
bass out
plank
there.
road. They used to call a plank road, just to get
Right,
across.
right.
So
that's not
yeah. Go ahead, sir.
that was added later.
Mm-hmm.
What's
So that's a
interesting is that
marshy depressional area. That's a wetland, right? Seasonally.
yes, it is. It's yeah. We have cottonmouths out there, lots of them.
Where's the rim? It's not completely encircled by a rim, but it's got in the rim. You don't find hills in your country, small hills.
We
Nothing
have a lot
undulates,
of pencil
right?
mounds here, but the rim actually is raised about a meter,
Right.
all the way around it. In fact, think of it as a shotgun blast into the mud, and you'll see a lot of rounded areas, and they are raised rims. I think on the west side, not so much, because it raised. It's like it came out of the east and blasted it all to the west, and so there's not much of a rim on the west side. It's all just raised property and flat. That's where the old homestead was.
Okay, tell us. There you go.
V.
Is that a good one right there? Well, that's spheral distribution.
Right.
And if you have any photos, there's another one. Okay, so that's showing the rim, right?
Right. You see the white line where it shows there are some blowouts in it, but it does have a raised rim. It doesn't hold water. The rims don't hold water. They're very sandy and porous.
So for people who are just listening and can't see, we're showing a typical suite of evidence for a Younger Dryas impact event that includes a whole bunch of little things, which is always really important to the Comet Research Group. Little teeny tiny stuff you got to get out the electron microscope to see, and this looks like some optical stuff, then down to some electron microscope stuff. So little tiny things. But then, and we're pretty used to that. But then you come along with your site, and it goes all the way from little tiny things all the way up to these gigantic. Go ahead and grab one.
Here,
look at
that. A 16-pound chunk of melt glass.
Yes, sir.
And right in the center, it was struck by lightning.
Yeah.
According to Dr. Gunther Kletex. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Gunther Klechka. Yeah.
He took it with him to Alaska and put it on his machine, whatever it was, and he brought it back to me. And he and Malcolm Lecomte came and visited, and we did some digging and playing in the mud. And he put the tape on it and said, right there in the center, that's where it was struck by lightning. But if you look at the layers on it, it looks like it was struck in the side by lightning, maybe some sort of discharge. Aren't there electrical discharges in an impact like that? But there are several other smaller spots that look like that. I don't know.
Oh, keep that thing handy, kid. Do you have a place to keep it?
Oh, yeah, I keep it right here.
Okay.
I sleep with it.
Robert, that is absolutely astonishing. As somebody who's followed this stuff since, for 20 years and looked at all these little photographs, these little teeny tiny things, and now you're finding giant chunks of it. And so people understand, let me put a little more context on it. What happened here is something came from space, call it 80,000 miles an hour. And it was of such a nature that not all of it made it to the ground. I think traditionally we think about a big iron meteorite. I was just looking for my own around here. And it coming through and you could find something, some remainder of it, and oftentimes you do and whatnot. But for instance, Behringer Crater out in Arizona, the one we were talking about, it didn't have a big iron meteorite. They dug and dug for it, right? But this didn't leave. Yeah. This event is This event's a little more subtle, but more horrifying, right? In that nothing came through with enough kinetic force to go excavate a typical crater, but rather a plume where most of it had vaporized into, kinetic hell, thermal hell, came down and touched the ground and probably had some material in it. And they find evidence of some ET material. But really, what made it all the way through the atmosphere and into your backyard in Perkins, Louisiana, was heat. Pure, unmitigated, hellish heat and concussion, right?
Well, we haven't really dug a deep well in the center of the crater or anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, best I can do is about 15 feet before the sand starts collapsing in on my hole. But I think the crater had to have been a lot deeper when it was first excavated. Everything just kind of settles in. And the V in the bottom left-hand corner, to
Should
me,
I pop it back up?
Okay.
I'll pop it back up. Let's see here.
Or do you want me to share it?
Yeah, you can share. You can share as much as you like. And we want you to share some Google Earth soon enough, folks. We're going to dig in on Google Earth, which I know a lot of Cosmic Summit, Cosmic Tusk fans enjoy.
Do you want me to share Google Earth now?
Yeah, if you want to, whatever you want to show. You can show pictures.
Okay.
Great, man.
Looks you can see Google Earth, and right there is the crater. I'm going to zoom in on it. See how everything is kind of rounded? It's like overlapping craters. There's a separate one that's almost separate. But right here is a perfectly straight, I call it the V. It's got a, let's see, I wrote it down. How big is that? It's like, it's 70 meters at the opening, and the rim on each side is 100 meters. It's a big point, and my dad stood right here. That's an old 1916 tram or steam engine that they brought out here to log all the pine, and they put the tracks across it. And he stood right here and looked out at it, and that's when he said, "That's a meteor impact." And he thought it came from the southwest and plowed into the ground and just exploded out in this toward the northeast. But we talked about it later and decided it came from the west and exploded in the air and blasted all this into the ground. And one piece must have been solid and hit the side of the rim as it was forming and created this perfectly straight line in the rim and just dug into the ground. And right here at the corner of Reed and Holbrook Park Road is a hill that it points to. So I don't know if anything's under there or not. But everyone looks at that and says that's really iffy. It's not in the paper or anything, but I see it as something that has a possibility. In fact,
so it came from the northeast to the southwest? No. Yeah, from the northeast to the southwest.
Yeah, mostly from the east to west, but what I call the big round thing is a big round dimple. Am I showing it right? There's a big round dimple.
Yeah, you can see it good. When we talked a couple of days ago, I couldn't quite get it, but
yeah, once you looked at it enough, you can see it.
Yeah, y'all, I can see it. And the trees grow a little preferentially up on that hill.
Down on the south end.
Well, down in the bottom, clearly, almost looked like they planted them or didn't cut them preferentially. But up at the top, it's a little thicker growth up there and kind of outlines it. I mean, it's faint, but what I love, Robert, is that people that live on the land, there is a circle there, folks. You know that because you spent your whole life walking around and you know the elevations and all that better than LiDAR does. So
it's almost, you almost can't see it on the ground.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
kind
like
of
a
got a
Carolina
little,
Bay.
but they let the trees grow here on it.
Yeah.
But in my mind, this thing exploded right here and left a dimple here, and all the fragments of pieces splattered down into the mud right here.
Wow.
We have high humidity a lot here, and I can imagine it hit a thundercloud or even just high humidity and just exploded. There's one piece that there's a raised area here. It looks like a blowout, and it comes
Mm-hmm.
all the way to here, and it right there is a teardrop shaped. The neighbors have a pond there that's always been there, so that might be a secondary crater.
Robert, tell us about the materials y'all find in there. Like when you were a kid, were they funny rocks? Did y'all talk about being the crater rocks? I mean, or did you dig that up subsequently? Because I know you went nuts with a backhoe about 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, I never did much digging out there when we were kids, and no one ever really did. Uh, it was just a fun place to go shoot guns, and uh, we flew kites and had picnics and all, and that's where our ancestors used to live and just things like that. But we never did much digging. I don't know why. It was in
Did you find
2006.
anything on the surface though? I mean, you later found strange rocks, but were there surface thing? You know, did when
Not
you first got in
really.
touch with the Comet Research Group? That was after you had begun digging. Okay, so you had
Right.
what y'all thought
Right.
was a crater. You didn't think you had meteoritic material or whatnot, right? Vaporized glass, you know, sand vaporized into glass and whatnot. But okay, thanks, Robert, for helping me along with this. So tell us the story. So y'all think it's a crater. Then how did it transition into hard science and hard discoveries?
Well, we just, like I said, we just grew up calling it a crater, and
Yeah.
never thought much about it. When you're just a kid and you grow up and it's part of your life, and you're not out there long enough to start digging. We lived about 25 minutes away to the south in Sulphur, and this was just a place we'd go to have fun. At that age, you were shooting guns, but you never thought about actually digging. Uh,
Hmm.
and I think it was 2006 that I said, I need to dig into that rim and see if there's anything. Other than that, I don't know of anyone ever even looking. It
Hmm.
was just, we call it the crater, and I never really thought much about it actually being a crater. That was just the name. And, you know, how later on you start questioning things. And that's when I started digging.
What'd you find when you started digging?
Concretions here down at the bottom. This is LiDAR image. Uh, this is Perkins.
Mm-hmm.
And if the round circle is the crater area, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see where Beckwith Creek came down, was heading right toward it, but it changed course to go around this, and then it started
Mm-hmm.
going back in that direction. But up to the north here, you can see these arcs. These arcs are
Mm-hmm.
the old shoreline of the Gulf
Mm-hmm.
of whatever you call it, and anything below that, it's not hilly, and it's just fine grained sand. I've got, let's see, other pictures. That is a concretion. I started
Mm-hmm.
finding these in the rim. They look like peanuts, and you break them open. It's got a thin shell. You break them open, it's black sand on the inside. So that's part of the
No
rim.
kidding.
That's the only place I find them, and there's just tons of them. But it's thought that they formed later on, perhaps acid dissolution from the impact, but they are definitely part of the rim. Let's see if I can find. This is the rim. This is trench number 1, and what I think may be an overturned flap. Now, everything I'm talking about is stuff that's not in the paper, stuff that's just me as a
Yeah, your
non-scientist.
speculation. Hey, speculation is fine on the Cosmic
All
Tusk
my
podcast.
speculation. But
Yep.
if you can see, I took a garden hose and washed it. There's a hardened layer that slowly gets thicker and thicker, and it kind of becomes 2 layers here, and it ends right here into that's where it folds over. This is the crater. The green grass is in the crater, the inside, and then it's like an overturned flap right here, like the whole thing just kind of flipped over like you would, and made the rim like you would expect. So I took
call
a
it
garden
inverted
hose
stratigraphy. Yeah.
from the
Carolina
top
bays are suspected to have the same thing.
Might be inverted, but I took a garden hose and pushed in between the layers right here, and I pushed it in with water running, I think 15 feet or so, and never hit the end of it. But that may be the overturned flap. And then further down here, everything gets red. I call that the red splash, where it looks like it collapsed down and flowed into the center of the crater. Back here, right at the very beginning of my dig, are pipes. Let's see if that's my feet. I'm standing. I dug down 4 feet when it was dry. You can't do that right now, but there are pipes, steam pipes, or what did you call them?
Sand boils,
like sand boils,
but maybe
maybe
steam. It could be sand boils. I think happen without all that heat, but who knows what that heat produces? Seems like it would vaporize things, and they come up and steam
along the
explosions.
rim. We've got such a shallow water table that you put a lot of heat down like that down in the ground, and it's going to make some steam. And the red part is hard. The center is just a white sand. It looks like it just been pumped up through the pipes. I dug one out, and I varnished it to keep it from falling apart. But this is one of those pipes. This would be the bottom. It's a lot smaller. It's like it was expanding as it came out.
Yeah.
So this was 4 feet down in the ground. There are a lot of them. Right now you dig into it, but you got to go through water to get to it. But it was very dry. In fact, I used my chainsaw to cut a big chunk, a big square of them out, and then later on went and bought a new chainsaw. Don't cut sand clay with your chainsaw. But
that's the moral of that story. Now, just to confirm, your neighbors don't find those around there, do they? I mean, is it just right there? Is that kind of an unknown thing? I mean, I'd imagine if you took that to the local soil office or whatnot, they hadn't seen such a thing.
I don't know of anyone that's ever seen anything like this around here, or the concretions. Yeah. Now we get tiny little sand nodules. They're all over the place, but not what I call peanuts.
Yeah.
Here's some pieces of melt glass that you can see it's been dripping. It looks like it made a glove. But you can see where it folded over, and I guess you can see that, but it's it comes in all different shapes. See what
Robert, tell me, so you started digging 20 years ago. Did the first, when did you see the first materials? What'd you think? Were you like, holy shit, this looks like melted stuff down in the family crater?
Well, the first thing I saw was those concretions, and I dug a lot of them out, and I didn't know what they were. I just know I'd never seen them before, but it it was definitely unusual. And later I found the pipes. That's the second thing that's where I started my trench down inside the crater. When I saw those pipes, I thought, well, maybe those pipes spit those concretions out, but later on, that wasn't right. And we've always seen pimple mounds. Here is a picture from 1953, an aerial photo, awesome. And you see all these pimple mounds.
Do you want to tell people what they are, or shall I? Because they are right up there with the Carolina. Well, I wouldn't say they're right up there with the Carolina Bays, but they're one of the most mysterious geological features in the U.S. Have been puzzled about for many years. You take it away. What's a pimple mound?
You know it more about.
Well, maybe okay. I'll do the big picture, then you give me the backyard. You grew up with them. I've never even walked on a pimple mound, although I've wanted to. And that's actually kind of how we got in touch a long time ago. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But pimple mounds, or Mima mounds, they're sometimes called, are found in Louisiana. And strangely, up in the Northwest, up in Washington State, and I think Oregon and whatnot. And they're these anomalous mounds, big mounds of dirt that look like pimples. You can see them right there. And how elevated do you think those were, Robert? I mean, is that little pimple coming how far off the surface?
Right now, they're about 30 feet across or so. They're different sizes, but and maybe a couple of feet tall.
Couple of feet?
Yeah, it's not something you run into, you drive over.
And it's one of those subtle things that, eventually, scientists start to define things and look into, okay, well, what caused this? And there's never, like the Carolina Bays, there's never been an agreement on why this fairly mundane feature, it's a pile of sand out there, but why they'd be out there. So they're associated with, in this case, with what seems to be an impact crater based on the published science. Do you think there's a relationship?
There's very little doubt in my mind. Let me see if I can find my logbook. I've got a picture. Well, no, I don't have my logbook. But anyway, I found a magazine or paper article where in 1940 they did an aerial photography of the area because of all these pimple mounds. And I was looking at it and trying to decide, I know that's near my area, wondering exactly where it was. And I looked for something that I could relate the location to. And it turned out the crater, the Perkins crater, was right in the center of that picture. I sent you a picture of it, but yeah, it was right in the center. Perkins, Perkins impact. Where is that picture?
And folks, y'all can go over to Cosmic Tusk, my blog, which has been refreshed, and you can see this paper summarized and access it at cosmictusk.com.
Yeah, this is
nice.
Yeah. Can you see that? That was a 1940 photo, aerial
dead center.
Photo. That's the crater in the dead center.
Yeah.
But they weren't trying to take a picture of the crater. They were just looking at the pimple mounds and wondering what caused them.
So you find out, or you go back and look at those aerial photographs and you find out this mysterious feature. And just like Carolina Bays, they're being destroyed. I mean, they used to be evident everywhere. Yeah. And they've gotten more subtle over time because obviously if you're farming and you've got a bunch of pimples.
Can you see that better?
Oh, yeah.
That's an article that, and that's the crater right there in the center. But that's 1940.
Okay,
And
so tell us about, again, that was 20 years ago, right? 2006. You said you started digging. And then
and
take us to when you first got in contact with some PhDs.
okay, I got a hold of Dr. Professor Cord Ernstson, and we exchanged. I sent him a lot of samples, and he was fascinated with it, and uh, we just had a good time talking about it, and I he was way above my head, but he was very sure that it's a probable impact. But he said he's gone about it. I think he's gone about as far as he can go, and he introduced me to Dr. Alan West, and that's when I
Mm-hmm.
contacted Dr. West, and he took it from there. So it's kind of like we all worked together on it, and uh, that that's where we are
And then
now.
Gunther and Malcolm LeCompte, Gunther Klutschke, Malcolm LeCompte even came out there. And
Right.
this stuff goes slow, doesn't it, Robert? This stuff goes slowly. People that like contact the Comet Research Group, and you might imagine we get a whole lot of over the transom. I call them contactees. You know, people are trying to
Yeah.
contact the Comet Research Group because they found something odd in their backyard. And I mean, I don't like people that exaggerate things like this. So I ain't gonna say hundreds and hundreds, but I've personally fielded well over 100. It'd have to be hundreds and hundreds, and you can't. There's no way to digest it. You can't on the shoestring budget that we're on. There's no way to marshal the resources to more than maybe look at the photographs and say that looks interesting, except for whatever might be one or two that you do have the resources to do. So you've got all this opportunity to see interesting places all over the world, frankly, and you can only concentrate on a few. Tal al Amam was one, where we found Sodom in the Jordan Valley. Totally different kind of scene. But so you got in touch with Alan, and he said that is some pretty interesting stuff. And they did follow up. They eventually make it out there, and they spend basically what were y'all kicking around for 10 years until they published.
I don't know how long it was. At least about a decade or so. Yeah.
Because I was in
Uh,
touch with you 10 years ago because I wanted to come out and see the Pimple Mounds
well, then
and
it's
also
longer
the
than
crater.
10 years. Yeah.
I thought it might be longer than 10 years ago, like 2012 or 11, because I was coming down to, in 2011, I came down to Louisiana 20 times that year. And I remember
Okay.
wanting to make it to your place because I was like, I'm following a little bit this fellow who's found this interesting stuff, and we're talking Pimple Mounds. So I want to go see this, but I never made it over there. But that just puts it into context how long these
Hmm.
investigations go on. And it must be gratifying, Robert, to have it result in a major scientific paper. Is it? Is it fun to
Oh
talk
yes,
about?
it's.
Yeah.
I just wish my dad had been here to see
Oh,
this.
man. I bet.
Something I
I
need
bet.
something I need to say about this photo.
Yes,
It
sir.
looks square. You can
Mm-hmm.
see that the impact looks square. It's not. My grandfather farmed it. This is 1953
Mm-hmm.
photo. He had farmed it back in the early 1900s. You can still see the rows. He planted the inside of it. I think he tried
Mm-hmm.
rice, and my dad said it didn't really grow no nutrients. But where he farmed it, it looks squared. But if you see it on LiDAR or you see the actual rim, it's a
Mm-hmm.
raised rim. I had to go stand in it and look and see where it's squared off here. This photo had just enough water in it to make it look. You could see where he had been farming it, but the shape is not square at all. Everything is pretty much rounded except for this V, this this
Hmm.
big V,
Well, after
and
12,800 years, um, and people have been around there for thousands of years, at least six. And well, actually, we know Clovis Points goes back further than that, but at least mound building people. But interestingly enough, down the road from you in Baton Rouge are the mounds at Louisiana State University, where both of my children go to school. And we'll get to that in a minute because I'm going to go visit Robert. We'll have a Cosmic Tusk field trip down there. and send back some video. But we're going to also do some stuff on the three mounds at the foot of Tiger Stadium, one of the largest football stadiums in the country. And right at the foot of it are the celebrated mounds of LSU. And one of the professors there, Brooks Elwood, dated the mounds and was shocked and then suppressed to have discovered that they were 12,000 years old. So down the road from you, there is evidence that a mound building culture extended back twice as far into time and as has ever been acknowledged. And they built those mounds. And I tell you, he didn't have an easy time with it. They did everything they could to shut him up. And just because it would have shaken up Louisiana archaeology so badly that they just didn't have time for it. And of course, he was a geologist, I believe. You know, he was a petroleum geologist, so they didn't want to hear from him on anything with archaeological implications. But isn't that interesting that when this plume, maybe just before, just after, well, I would imagine be just after, perhaps somebody was memorializing in some sense the trauma that had just occurred by constructing those mounds. But we'll flesh that out when I do my field trip down there. Are there any mounds near you? Do you have any Indian mounds in that country, or are you not close enough to the rivers?
Not that I'm aware of. I found points, chert points in the rim. The Beckwith Creek, they find all sorts of artifacts, mostly points. I found pieces of pottery, but I don't see any mounds in this area. Oh, and here you can see where it looks like there was kind of a blowout here and a raised, the soil is raised here, and it's pointing right to this crater or this pond, teardrop shaped, that might be a secondary crater.
Is that on your land?
No, my property line comes right about down the center of it, and my cousin owns the other half. This is a neighbor's place.
Has anybody gone and dug in that other little dimple?
No. I asked him if he dug it out recently, made a nice pond, and he said he didn't see anything special. Of course, he wasn't looking.
Be interesting to go kind of sort through his spoil from that he dug out. Yeah, it just shows how much. If you're properly funded in this stuff, you could get out there and spend $250,000 and just put the whole thing to bed. Now, not that the papers that are being published aren't nothing sufficient to put something to bed. All this stuff, someone contingent, it's science. But you could do so much more quality work with just, or I guess not quality, because it is quality work, but comprehensive work. If you could go out with with proper funding. That's why it takes so long. That's why it takes a decade to do this stuff, because it kind of goes in fits and starts and depends on what other papers are being written. You can imagine how many other papers were published during those 10, 12 years you were in touch with the Comet Research Group. They're out working other projects. And then this one bubbled up, no pun intended, and made it through. I actually think about your discovery as making it all the way through one of those pachinko machines where it's got to go all the way down. Yeah, your dad's discovery.
My dad's discovery.
What was his name, Robert?
Walter Leo Fitzenreiter Jr. He went by Leo.
Leo Fitzenreiter Jr. He did see you drag out. He knew you were in touch with those PhDs, though. He had some satisfaction from that. Yeah.
We were convinced. But do you see where these tongues are? Yeah. I call them tongues. That's kind of like blowouts. It's low areas that are leaving the crater area. And let's see, my house is right in here, and there's another one. You can't see it. This would be a big blowout or tongue area, but they've got raised rims, and it's like a wave was leaving the crater.
Yeah. And funny enough, when we're talking about that, deep under that sand, there's actually evidence of waves from another impact, the one in the Yucatan that caused the extinction of the dinosaurs, kicked sand waves all the way into Louisiana, gigantic waves deep beneath your sediments.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on a whole nother scale. They came out with that like 5 or 6 years ago. Oh yeah, we're deep beneath your superficial sediments. I don't know, it could be hundreds of feet, but they're gigantic ripples down there, and they're ripples from the tsunami that came in and swept across North America after, you know.
I can imagine. I thought I was pre-disastered because these impacts don't happen in the same place twice.
Yeah,
Here on they do on the moon, but not here. So I thought I was pre-disastered. But I'm not.
that's right. That's right. You know,
I still got to worry.
I want to make sure to bring up this fact because I'm fascinated by it. I think a good place for kind of the media attention and the stuff like I do to kind of popularize these papers and these discoveries is that this one's special and it's the first. I think we should start calling them Perkins Plumes, right? Name
Perkins
it after
Plume?
the original place. Perkins Plumes.
I don't remember seeing a plume.
But it's a plume of plasma that comes down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you've heard it referred to as a plume, right? I don't want to be using nomenclature.
Now,
I mean,
that's something temporary as it's happening, isn't it?
Yeah, but like I can show you that you've seen. Have you seen where Sandia modeled what happens in these events? But what happens, Robert, is most of the stuff that's coming in vaporizes, right? And by vapor, you mean it's just a super hot ionic gas. You know, it's plasma.
Mm-hmm.
It's just dissociated atomic material that's so damn hot that it isn't even, you know, it's not even a solid anymore. And that's mostly what comes to the ground. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but it often referred to as plumes, which is kind of a delicate word for something that's absolutely horrifying.
Okay, when I think plume, I think something rising up from the crater.
I see what you're saying.
Down. Okay, that's where I was confused.
Here we go.
I understand what you're saying now.
Okay, so this is an old press release, right? So it's still an old-fashioned slimmed down thing, but I think they still got the movies. So if I show that movie, and it won't
that would
play.
Be plasma plume.
Yeah,
I have seen that before. Okay.
Yeah. So that's right, a plume. And you're probably thinking like an oil and gas man, you know, a plume from, you know, a salt plume and that kind of stuff. You know,
when you flush the toilet, you should shut the lid because a plume will rise up out of it and particles land everywhere. That's what I think of when I think plume.
I tell you. Let's see. It'd be just about as horrifying. See, there's old Mark Boslow, longtime antagonist of.
I've seen,
and it will not take me to the damn website. That's crazy. But see that kind of hell. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And see, some stuff makes it to the bottom, but not all of it. So what's at your place is, you know, it's just hell heat. It even kind of looks like a demon.
Yeah.
Boy, that was
used to be done with a supercomputer, maybe.
Yeah, he sure did. And I tell you,
okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. It's so annoying, I'm sure, but just so people, you know, there's a class of objects. You got to think of it kind of like, what were we going to discover first? We're going to discover the most obvious stuff first. Well, that doesn't mean it's the most common. It just means it's still the most obvious, right? And what might be more common, which would stand to reason because there'd be more of these objects than there are giant metal things flying through space that make gigantic holes, that you end up, and that's what they think actually. Bill Napier, I pinned him down once and said, okay, how many of these things? Let's just take a guess. What's your gut say? He said 4,000 to 6,000 over about 6 hours. And you would have had large impacts too. There could have been things that, you know, broke apart the ice sheets and left craters we hadn't identified or have misidentified now. But there would have been 4,000 to 6,000 of these plumes. So you found the first one. And I know there's another one underway in Minnesota now where it's a similar type thing. in that it was more heat than material.
Yeah.
And that's horrifying. That's completely that they could be everywhere. My point is we should be on the lookout for them, and people go ahead and flood the Comet Research Group. People are send it to me, George at Cosmic Summit. I love reading this stuff. Can't always get back to people and stuff that weird rocks, if it looks like stuff that Robert's got in his yard, that they're out there. There are hundreds and hundreds of them in the United States.
If the topography is like it is here, look for pickle mounds.
Yeah.
I've gone on Google Earth and found potential craters that I was actually looking for. But I sent you the information, didn't I?
Yeah, you're welcome to surf around and show us what you're looking at out there.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm on a picture. Can you see this? Am I sharing? No.
No, you got to go hit share again. And this is fascinating, Robert. Thanks for taking the time, man. I love this.
Here's a good picture.
Yeah.
Do you see the big round thing? It's clear here. And that's the crater. It just the crater almost wraps around the big round thing. And that's my terminology. And Beckwith Creek once came through here.
Mm-hmm.
But it turned north and then went south again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's significant.
I've got one like that in North Carolina. I'm going to send you later. Does same kind of thing. It's interesting. Robert, tell me a little bit more. You brought that the big melt glass thing. Yeah, keep showing us pictures, man. Whatever you got. But tell me, when you started digging, you found concretions. When did you first hit a big boulder of the stuff?
It was a few years.
Yeah.
And it was actually on my cousin's side. My uncle used to raise cattle out here. And I think he accidentally dug it up. And he used it to dump where the cows walk, to keep them from walking through the mud. And we traced it down. But I found a lot of small things in the crater just like it. Pieces of glass, spherules. In fact, magnetite spherules. I'd take a magnet and pull them out of the soil. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I'd see 5 spherules on one microscope slide, which is not a lot, but it's more than you would find anywhere else in the ground.
So you were using a microscope. You were looking at it under a microscope and stuff?
Yeah, I bought a microscope years ago. Can you cut what I'm fixing to say if you have to?
No, man. I mean, I had a microscope. As soon as I got into the Carolina Bay stuff, I went and got a microscope, and Alan would direct me, and I would go and look at stuff and then send it to the real scientists. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I had a vasectomy, and I had to bring a sample. I had to bring a sample to the doctor and had to stand in line, a little old lady questioning me all about it. I said, well, I'm going to get me a microscope and check and do the doctor's work. So I had this microscope. It wasn't, it was an okay microscope, and it was fine for what I was doing. But since then, I bought a much nicer one. But
you knew that you were probably pretty easy to see, right? Very vigorous. There was plenty to see in there.
Yeah, it's so now I got 2 microscopes, a good one and
we aren't cutting that, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm putting it out even if you never talk to me again.
I don't care. Well, I've got one microscope that has already served its purpose and another one.
Yeah, that was kind of a one-off microscope. Yeah.
At the time it was. I didn't think I was going to dig it out and use it, but it came in handy for this looking for ejecta from the crater.
No pun intended.
Okay. Here's a piece of sand from the rim. I'm changing the subject.
Yeah.
Here's
moving on.
And look at all these concretions. They're in veins. You got veins of concretions.
Yeah.
in there
Yeah.
and different colored. I don't know what that means. I mean, this is probably something, it's definitely impact related, but it probably happened many, many years after, as sand, as rainwater washed
Mm-hmm.
through it. I don't know. But they're all different colors right next to each other. I don't understand that, but that's just another interesting thing. Let's see what other picture do I. Oh, do you see these rocks?
Yeah.
They're small pebbles. I dig
Yeah.
up in the rim. I dig up a lot of small. They're rounded, but they're brecciated.
Mm.
Do you see that?
Mm-hmm. They're
I've
shocked.
never. Yeah, uh, and I don't know if that's normal or not, but so many of them are. They've got like they've
Mm-hmm.
been cracked but melted back together. Kind of reminds me we used to take marbles and heat
Mm-hmm.
them over a fire and then drop them in cold water and they'd crack but stay together.
What a great analogy. Huh.
That's what it reminds me
Thermal
of. And a
shock.
lot of them are like that.
And yeah, you aren't finding those, when you dig a ditch down the road and stuff. They're
I
kind of
grew up, I grew up playing in the mud. And there's stuff here that I've never seen. Let's see what else. I think that's all.
Robert, that is
Fine.
interesting stuff, man.
Yeah, that's one of those concretions I showed earlier. But some of them are shiny, some of them are dull, and you break them open,
Well, Robert,
and I can
um,
stop sharing. Yeah, or
yeah,
do I need to?
if you like. But I'm going to let's
Okay.
wrap it up. But let's not let's not end the story. All right, we need to
It's a
follow
never-ending
up with it.
story.
Oh, that's right. And I tell you, and we don't have to rush because it's been 12,800 years. That's another reason these investigations take so long. I mean, come on, it's been
Hmm.
this is not breaking news.
Malcolm
Um,
Lecomte said that it moves like a glacier. I think
oh yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I thought
glacial
I
speed.
don't want to even get into it. I've watched that glacier. It's like I've been looking at this glacier for 25, 30 years, just watch it move.
Hmm.
But it is moving into town now. Everybody else is seeing it. It's still moving
Yeah.
slow, but there are more people
Yeah.
seeing it because it's like turn the
Hmm.
corner and it's moving into town. But
Right.
philosophy of science aside, and back to media and YouTube and all the fun stuff we can do with a field trip, Beckett Fusick and the Cosmic Tusk team, Cosmic Summit team, we're now the Cosmic Tusk
Hmm.
Podcast. We're going to have to work on our cross branding here, but Cosmic something wants to come see your cosmic backyard and ride around in the golf cart and maybe get a piece of equipment. I'll pay for rental if we need to. And take a look at this thing in person, amateur to
Uh-huh.
amateur, right?
Yeah.
No PhDs allowed, speculators encouraged. But no, PhDs can join us. They just got to speculate. But we want to come visit you, man. How's that sound this fall as soon as it cools off a bit?
That sounds great. I
That'd be
want to show
fun.
you something if I can, real quick.
Yeah, man.
It's okay. This is my house now. This is my old house. Uh,
Hit
can you
share
see
again.
it?
No, you got to hit
Okay.
share again.
Okay. Share screen. In this. Okay. Here we go. This is the crater. I think it's at an angle a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, but that's okay. This is a crater.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
remember, I told you about those tongues? This
Mm-hmm.
is one tongue coming out from it. And this is a low area right here. But this tongue is a raised rim, just like there's one up here. But this was my old house, which is a crater now. I mean, the workshop now. And this rim had an open area right here. And I looked all
Man,
over.
that,
I said, wonder if there's
yeah.
another crater here or there. But right in back of what was my house at the time, I was digging everything up, bringing it, washing it with the garden hose, and I noticed that the soil, the sand was laying on the ground in a big arc. And I got to looking at it, and it looks like right here is a crater that's about 30 feet across, but it's so flat it's hard to see, but you can see it when when the dirt washed to the rim. It made an arc, and I took a garden hose and circled it and looked at where it was, and I dug a hole right in the center of it with a bore tool. I went down. It was me and Ernston at this time, Cord Ernston, and he told me how deep the crater should have been at that diameter. And when I got to that depth, I could hardly dig through it. It was just like the ground, the sand was packed, solid. And so I took and dug a trench across the rim. And what I saw was the same thing as up here, trench number one. What I call the red splash, like whenever the rim collapses, it collapses in, and it made a reddish clay, looked like it splashed down. So that may be another crater that really, it's flattened off pretty good. You can barely see it, but you'd have to know what you were looking for. I don't know.
And Robert, that's literally in your backyard.
That is right up against the house, which is now my shop.
Where's the front porch of that house?
This one?
Yeah, so that's in the back.
Yeah, this is the front porch.
Yeah.
And this is the backyard. And
so that crater is roughly, you could actually cook a hamburger on the grill at the crater and walk it into the kitchen. I mean, that's literally your backyard.
Yeah, this is my carport. So it's right on the back side of the carport. It goes right here. But it's all flat. And you can just barely see it. And that hole in the tongue was right here. So I was looking for a crater on the inside of the tongue, maybe blew the rim out. But I ended up finding it on the outside, which it's like it blew the rim out of this big tongue. And I don't think that's a crater, the tongues. It's like it just blew out and made a big wave. Speculation, just me.
No, I love it, man. And I tell you, I hope people listen to this. I hope it's a inspiration and encouragement for all of us pajama scientists. I mean, you're living a pajama science dream just like I did, where you get in touch with these people and you develop relationships and you're able to really do some cool stuff. And that's when it's within everyone's reach, particularly these days, because the internet and being able to send pictures around. And I mean, there are just a lot of ways where it's easier now than it ever has been to get in touch with the right people. Now, bandwidth is a problem, but people just stick with it. Somebody's listening to this. I guarantee you that someone is listening to this podcast that'll put in the comments, I got something like that. Yeah, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe it didn't, doesn't test out the way yours did, but let us know, folks. If you're out there and you got sites, let us know. Well, Robert, thank you very, very much. That's right at an hour, man. That's a good little tight podcast. I enjoyed it too, sir. And I will enjoy coming down there and visiting my child at LSU here this fall. Maybe seeing a football game and then driving out to your place. How's that sound?
Looking forward to it.
That's awesome, Robert. Well, we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. Please subscribe and like and comment. I know we're going to see a lot of comments. They should be absolutely fascinating, but make sure you subscribe to and maybe even hit that notification bell, because I'm going to be trying to do more and more podcasts. So over and out from Raleigh. Good to see you, Perkins. And look forward to seeing you this fall, sir.
and never hesitate to procrastinate.
A motto I've lived by for.
That was my motto at work.
I love it.
Sometimes jobs will
Robert
Fitzenreiter. Things fix themselves a lot.
You're an awesome new Tusk buddy. I'll see you soon. Over and out.
Okay. Have a good one. Bye-bye.